It's almost 9:30, and that means it is time to get down to business. With crypto executives standing behind him at the White House yesterday, President Trump called on Congress to pass a major bill that would directly benefit the industry, one that has made his family business nearly $1.4 billion that we know of last year. And let's remember, at the very same time, nearly 1 million of his investors lost nearly $4 billion. Trump's crypto push comes as a new poll finds a majority of Americans say that he and his family have inappropriately profited from crypto since his return to office. And I haven't even mentioned the Witkoffs, the Lutnicks, and a whole host of other administration officials making serious dough off of this. Joining me now to discuss, Rohit Chopra, former director of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. And now he's California's consumer cop, and Dan Nathan, co-founder of Risk Reversal and CNBC Fast Money contributor. Okay. I don't even know where to put this, Dan. This is such a blatant conflict of interest. Okay. 2 of the CEOs that were with the president last night gave millions to the ballroom. 3 of them were facing DOJ investigations because of either their platforms operating illegally or manipulating the crypto markets. And now they're there flanking the president, making billions of dollars, and him pushing Congress for crypto regulation. For real? As, by the way, World Liberty Financial is on its way to become a bank.
Right. So, you have the transparent giving, and then you have the dark money that goes through crypto. And when you think about those folks who are lined up behind him, I mean, they have, I guess, hundreds of billions of dollars on the line, and why this makes sense, to them. They're pumping money into candidates that will be pro, this sort of regulation. I think that if you take the 2 things apart here a little bit, right? So there's got to be this sort of shackles, if you will, on the family, or checks on them, ethics, whatever you want to kind of, wrap that up in. But there is some benefit to having more clarity from the Clarity Act for the industry, right? And so if you think about just the money that's going in, that's one thing. The money that's being taken out by the Trumps, that's another thing. But the Clarity Act would give some guardrails to what's going on there. And I think a lot of folks would feel a lot better about that. If you were able to kind of cap a little bit of, Trump's access to the market, I think it's almost a bipartisan sort of thing that you would actually have the Clarity Act passed. So the problem is it just kind of obliterates all norms that we have seen about presidents, administrations, and their access to private markets.
I don't know, Rohit. I guess my reservation is the irony of calling it the Clarity Act when we're sitting here on a mountain of dark money and unsavory characters making tons of it. Right now, Sam Bankman-Fried is sitting in a prison cell just being like, timing. If it were 4 years later, I'd be sitting next to the president.
Well, you actually hit the nail on the head about something, which is that one of the regulators in Washington has also approved World Liberty Financial, a Trump family affiliated enterprise, to get essentially a bank charter. They are getting special perks and licenses, which will make them rich. We know that about 1 million people have lost an average of $3,800 on Trump's meme coin. And where is it going to stop? Regardless of what the policy is about, this is one of many series of actions that just simply feels motivated by people in the White House and their families lining their own pockets.
All right, let me ask you about a new topic, Rohit. The national debt reached a new record yesterday, topping $40 trillion. In less than 5 years, it has risen by nearly a third. Yes, our economy is growing, but I want you to remind us of why this is not sustainable. I mean, this is one of the reasons Scott Bessent said he was so desperate and passionate about joining this administration to tackle this crisis, and obviously we're not.
Well, remember what we heard at the beginning of the administration was that Elon Musk's Doge project was going to somehow cure our debt. In fact, we've seen it explode even more. And that's having an effect on the bond markets, and it's having an effect on the interest rates that people are paying on mortgages, credit cards, auto loans, and more. All of those higher rates, which President Trump promised would go down, haven't. And people are paying the price for it.
I want to share some of the president's own words, because back in 2016, he campaigned on the promise that he would pay off national debt. And to Rohit's point, the most recent place was Doge. Doge was going to take it on. But here's the president's own words.
We're going to pay off debt. Because remember, we have $34 trillion in debt. We've got to pay it off. We're going to pay off debt. The $35 trillion in debt, we're going to pay it off. We'll start paying off debt and start lowering taxes even further. We're going to pay off our debt. We're going to do things that you wouldn't believe. We're going to make our country so competitive. We do have some debt we'd like to take care of, and the way you do that is through growth. We're going to grow our way out of it so fast.
Listen, Democrats haven't taken it on either. It's a massive problem. Where are we headed?
Yeah, so it was $20 trillion when Trump took over in 2016. He added $8 billion or trillion. Excuse me. I mean, we're talking trillion.
But that's exactly the point. You could have said gazillion, and I would have been like,
right.
Yes.
So here we are at 40 trillion. I think one of the big issues is that yes, growth could help out a great deal, but when you have to finance that debt, just think about that, right? And that's one of the reasons why the administration really needs rates to go lower, because when you're financing $40 trillion of debt, when you have deficit spending to the extent in which we are doing. And I think one of the kind of dirty secrets about this administration, or about that clip where he's saying that, 10 times, and I'm sure there's like 50 other times, is that they're just not making any progress. They're spending well more than they actually have suggested they will, despite the fact that they've cut taxes, right? And they've cut SNAP, they've cut healthcare, they've cut all these things. And if you would think that that would help, bring down the deficit and the debt, and it's not, because the tax cuts are just so tremendous for the highest earners and for corporates.
And corporates are only doing better now. I'm not even going to get into corporates are now.
But you could wrap it back to that meeting yesterday. Those corporates are benefiting from all of the actions that are going on, whether it is a regulatory situation or whether it's a tax situation.
Okay, that's why we have a completely divided economy. Think about all these companies that are now getting tens of millions of dollars, and they deserve to get it in refunds from the tariffs. But that American consumer who's not seeing their wages get any higher, who is still paying high taxes, who's now paying more for their health care, they're saying this economy doesn't work for me.
Right. So intervention, like we saw yesterday by the Treasury to kind of lower interest rates, right?
By the way, let's just talk. I know we got to go. Intervention by the Treasury to lower rates, and they're back up again today.
They're back up today. And that sort of thing is like when the Treasury is the buyer of last resort. You know this. You're an ex-banker. It's just not a great place to be. They're trying to jawbone things. They have basically committed to buying between now and the election, let's be really clear, double what they normally buy of the long bond, the 30-year bond. But think about that. 16 billion against 30 trillion, in bonds at that stage. So again, it's a rounding error. There really is messaging, but the messaging is not convincing market participants.
Yeah. And the fact that they're doing it should have people concerned. All right, gentlemen. Rohit, thank you so much. See, that's what happens when you're all the way in California. The person sitting next to me gets more questions. That means you got to come visit.